The Red Book, Liber Secundus, Book the Second. Section 1, entitled Images of the Erring, or in the handwritten draft, The Adventures of the Wandering. Now, to clarify what I'm doing here, I have a limited window of access to this gigantic copy of it, and I'm simply recording it, not by any means understanding what I'm reading at the moment, so that I can return to it at times which suit me to unpack it further. For example, the end of part 1, the last 3 sections, we discussed how psychological types was derived from that 30 pages of material, and it's psychological types which I'm really grappling with at the moment. So the next step would be to come back to, yeah, all the sections of Liber Primus and talk about them in the context of psychological types. However, I've decided that the recording of as much as I can get through of Liber Secundus and scrutinies and so on should come first. And the text becomes more and more revelatory, more and more prophetic as it goes on, as far as I can tell. And there are more and more images also, which, yeah, as I've said before, need to be continuously referred throughout as a constituent element of the act of reading the Red Book. For example, you can see that giant drawing there is the start of the second section. So, images of the erring, which is the cover page. Hearken not unto the words of the prophets that prophesy unto you. They make you vain. They speak a vision of their own heart, and not out of the mouth of the Lord. Jeremiah 23:16. I have heard what the prophet said, that prophecy lies in my name, saying, I have dreamed, I have dreamed. How long shall this be in the hearts of the prophets that prophecy lies? How long shall this be in the heart of the prophets that prophecy lies? Yea, they are prophets of the deceit of their own heart, which think to cause my people to forget my name by their dreams, which they tell every man to his neighbor, as their fathers have forgotten my name for Baal. The prophet that hath a dream, let him tell a dream, and he that hath my word, let him speak my word faithfully. What is the chaff to the wheat, saith the Lord. Jeremiah 23:25-28. Yeah, these passages in Latin from the Bible were cited by Jung in Psychological Types from Luther's Bible and introduced with the following comments. The form in which Christ presented the content of his unconscious to the world became accepted and was declared valid for all. Thereafter, all individual fantasies became odious and worthless and were persecuted as heretical, as the fate of the Gnostic movement and of all later heresies testifies. The prophet Jeremiah is speaking just in this vein when he warns. So that was a cover page. It then goes overleaf to the section entitled The Red One. The red one with an image inset, which apparently depicts Jung in the opening scene of this fantasy. The door of the mysterium has closed behind me. I feel that my will is paralyzed and that the spirit of the depths possesses me. I know nothing about a way. I can therefore neither want this nor that, since nothing indicates to me whether I want this or that. I wait without knowing what I'm waiting for, but already in the following night, I felt that I had reached a solid point. December 26, 1913. I find that I'm standing on the highest tower of a castle. The air tells me so. I'm far back in time. My gaze wanders widely over solitary countryside, a combination of fields and forests. I'm wearing a green garment. A horn hangs from my shoulder. I am the tower guard. I look out into the distance. I see a red point out there. It comes nearer on a winding road, disappearing for a while in forests and reappearing again. It is a horseman in a red coat, the red horseman. He is coming to my castle. He is already riding through the gate. I hear steps on the stairway. The steps creak. He knocks. A strange fear comes over me. There stands the red one. His long shape, wholly shrouded in red. Even his hair is red. I think, in the end, he will turn out to be the devil. The red one. I greet you, man on the high tower. I saw you from afar, looking and waiting. Your waiting has called me. I. Who are you? The red one. Who am I? Who am I? You think I am the devil. Do not pass judgment. Perhaps you can also talk to me without knowing who I am. Perhaps you can also talk to me without knowing who I am. What sort of a superstitious fellow are you, that immediately you think of the devil? I. If you have no supernatural ability, how could you feel that I stood waiting on my tower, looking out for the unknown and the new? My life in the castle is poor, since I always sit here and no one climbs up to me. The red one. So what are you waiting for? I. I wait all kinds of things, and especially I'm waiting for some of the world's wealth, which we don't see here, to come to me. The red one. So I've come to absolutely the right place. I've wandered a long time through the world, seeking those like you who sit upon a high tower, on the lookout for things unseen. I. You make me curious. You seem to be a rare breed. Your appearance is not ordinary. And then, too, forgive me, it seems to me that you bring with you a strange air, something worldly, something impudent or exuberant, or, in fact, something pagan. The red one. You don't offend me. On the contrary, you hit your nail on the head. But I'm no old pagan, as you seem to think. I don't want to insist on that. You're also not pompous and Latin enough. You have nothing classical about you. You seem to be a son of our time, but as I must remark, a rather unusual one. You're no real pagan, but the kind of pagan who runs alongside our Christian religion. The red one. You're truly a good diviner of riddles. You're doing better than many others who have totally mistaken me. You sound cool and sneering. Have you never broken your heart over the holiest mysteries of our Christian religion? The red one. You're an unbelievably ponderous and serious person. Are you always so urgent? I would before God always like to be as serious and true to myself as I try to be. However, that certainly becomes difficult in your presence. You bring a certain gallows air with you, and you're bound to be from the black school of Salerno, where pernicious arts are taught by pagans and the descendants of pagans. Salerno is a town in southwest Italy founded by the Romans. Jung may have been referring to the Academia Segreta, which was established in the 1540s and promoted alchemy. The red one. You're superstitious and too German. You take literally what the scriptures say. Otherwise, you could not judge me so hard. Aye, a hard judgment is the last thing I would want, but my nose does not play tricks on me. You are evasive and don't want to reveal yourself. What are you hiding? The red one seems to get redder. His garments shine like glowing iron. The red one. I hide nothing from you, you true-hearted soul. I simply amuse myself with your weighty seriousness and your comic veracity. This is so rare in our time, especially in men who have understanding at their disposal. I believe you cannot fully understand me. You apparently compare me with those whom you know. But I must say to you, for the sake of truth, that I neither really belong to this time nor to this place. A spell has banished me to this place and time for years. I am really not what you see before you. The red one. You say astounding things. You say astounding things. Who are you then? I. That is irrelevant. I stand before you as that which I presently am. Why I am here and like this, I do not know. But I do know that I must be here to justify myself, according to my best knowledge. I know just as little who you are as you know who I am. The red one. That sounds very strange. Are you something of a saint? Hardly a philosopher, since you have no aptitude for scholarly language. But a saint? Surely that. Your solemnity smells of fanaticism. You have an ethical air and a simplicity that smacks of stale bread and water. I can say neither yes nor no. You speak as one trapped in the spirit of his time. It seems to me that you lack the terms of comparison. The red one. Perhaps you attended the school of the pagans? You answer like a sophist. How can you then measure me with the yardstick of the Christian religion if you are no saint? Aye. It seems to me, though, that one can apply this yardstick even if one is no saint. I believe I've learned that no one is allowed to avoid the mysteries of the Christian religion unpunished. I repeat, he whose heart has not been broken over the Lord Jesus Christ drags a pagan around in himself, who holds him back from the best. The red one. Again, this old tune. What for, if you are not a Christian saint? Are you not a damned sophist after all? Aye, you are ensnared in your own world, but you certainly seem to think that one can assess the worth of Christianity correctly without being a downright saint. The red one. Are you a doctor of theology who examines Christianity from the outside and appreciates it historically, and therefore a sophist after all? Aye, you're stubborn. What I mean is that it's hardly a coincidence that the whole world has become Christian. I also believe that it was the task of Western man to carry Christ in his heart and to grow with his suffering, death, and resurrection. The red one. Well, there are also Jews who are good people and yet had no need for your solemn gospels. Aye, you are, it seems to me, no good reader of people. Have you never noticed that the Jew himself lacks something? One in his head, another in his heart, and he himself feels that he lacks something. The red one. Indeed, I'm no Jew, but I must come to the Jew's defense. You seem to be a Jew hater. Aye. Well, now you speak like all those Jews who accuse anyone of Jew hating who does not have a completely favorable judgment, while they themselves make the bloodiest jokes about their own kind. Since the Jews only too clearly feel that particular lack and yet do not want to admit it, they are extremely sensitive to criticism. Do you believe that Christianity left no mark on the souls of men? And do you believe that one who has not experienced this most intimately can still partake of its fruit? No one can flout the spiritual development of many centuries and reap what they have not sowed. The red one. You argue your case well, but your solemnity. But your solemnity. You could make matters much easier for yourself. If you're no saint, I really don't see why you have to be so solemn. You wholly spoil the fun. What the devil is troubling you? Only Christianity, with its mournful escape from the world, can make people so ponderous and sullen. I I think there are still other things that bespeak seriousness. The red one. Oh, I know, you mean life. I know this phrase. I too live, and don't let my hair turn white over it. Life doesn't require any seriousness. On the contrary, it's better to dance through life. Thus spoke Zarathustra. Zarathustra admonishes the overcoming of the spirit of gravity, and urges, you higher men, the worst thing about you is none of you has learned to dance as a man ought to dance beyond yourselves. I, I know how to dance. Yes, would we could do it by dancing. Excuse me. Yes, would that we could do it by dancing. Dancing goes with the mating season. I know that there are those who are always in heat, and those who also want to dance for their gods. Some are ridiculous, and others enact antiquity, instead of honestly admitting their utter incapacity for such expression. The red one. Here, my dear fellow, I doff my mask. Now I grow somewhat more serious, since this concerns my own province. It is conceivable that there is some third thing for which dancing would be the symbol. It's conceivable that there is some third thing for which dancing would be the symbol. The red of the rider transforms itself into a tender reddish flesh color. And behold, O miracle, my green garments everywhere burst into leaf. Just in passing, I'm thinking of the coming into consciousness of the quote unquote unconscious body and perhaps the emergence of a new center of awareness within the body, in the sense of one becomes two, two becomes three, from the third comes the one as the fourth being the feminine nature, the unconscious in the body, that category. In the sense of pain and suffering transforming itself into sensitivity and awareness in the body. And then also my green garments everywhere burst into leaf. This is also symbolic of the coming into awareness of what is natural or quote unquote unconscious, and also associated with annihilation, as in Jeff Vandermeer 2014, which also involves the top of a tower and the bottom of a tower. In any case, that's just in passing. So, as we said, the red of the rider transforms itself into a tender reddish flesh color, and behold, O miracle, my green garments everywhere burst into leaf. I, perhaps too there is a joy before God. Pandora, perhaps too there is a joy before God, the youngest daughter, that one can call dancing. Perhaps too there is a joy before God that one can call dancing. Alternatively, perhaps too there is a joy before God that one can call dancing, as in call by dancing, or the name of which is dancing. But I haven't yet found this joy. I look out for things that are yet to come. Things came, but joy was not among them. Things came. I look out for things that are yet to come. Things came, but joy was not among them. The red one. Don't you recognize me, brother? I am joy. I. Could you be joy? I see you as through a cloud. Your image fades. Let me take your hand, beloved. Who are you? Who are you? Joy? Was he Joy? Surely this red one was the devil, but my devil. That is, he was my joy, the joy of the serious person who keeps watch alone on the high tower. His red-colored, red-scented, warm, bright, red joy. Aside, in a seminar in 1939, Jung discussed the historical transformation of the figure of the devil. He noted that when he appears red, he is of fiery, that is, passionate nature, and causes wantonness, hate, or unruly love. Seems rather obvious, anyway. Yeah, surely this red one was the devil, but my devil. That is, he was my joy, the joy of the serious person who keeps watch alone on the high tower, his red-colored, red-scented, warm, bright red joy. Not the secret joy in his thoughts and in his looking, but that strange joy of the world that comes unsuspected like a warm southerly wind with swirling fragrant blossoms and the ease of living. You know it from your poets, this seriousness, when they expectantly look toward what happens in the depths, sought out first of all by the devil because of their spring-like joy. You know it from the poets, this seriousness, when they expectantly look toward what happens in the depths, sought out first of all by the devil because of their spring-like joy. You have heard from Faust about how commanding this kind of joy is. It picks up men like a wave and drives them forth. Whoever tastes this joy forgets himself. As you've known from Faust, there are many who forget who they were before because they let themselves be swept away. And there is nothing sweeter than forgetting oneself, and not a few have forgotten what they are, but even more have taken root so firmly that not even the rosy wave is able to uproot them. They are petrified and too heavy, while the others are too light. I earnestly confronted my devil and behaved with him as with a real person. This I learned in the Mysterium, to take seriously every unknown wanderer who personally inhabits the inner world, since they are real because they are effectual. Jung elaborated this point in 1928 when presenting the method of active imagination. Quote, as against this, the scientific credo of our time has developed superstitious phobia about fantasy, but the real is what works. The fantasies of the unconscious work. There can be no doubt about that. Since they're real because they're effectual. It does not help that we say in the spirit of this time, there is no devil. There was one with me. This took place in me. I did with him what I could. I could speak with him. A religious conversation is inevitable with the devil, since he demands it, if one does not want to surrender to him unconditionally. Because religion is precisely what the devil and I cannot agree about. I must have it out with him, as I cannot expect that he, as an independent personality, would accept my standpoint without further ado. I would be fleeing if I did not try to come to an understanding with him. If ever you have the rare opportunity to speak with the devil, then do not forget to confront him in all seriousness. He is your devil, after all. The devil as the adversary is your own other standpoint. He tempts you and sets a stone in your path where you least want it. Taking the devil seriously does not mean going over to his side, or else one becomes the devil. Rather, it means coming to an understanding. Thereby you accept your other standpoint. With that, the devil fundamentally loses ground, and so do you. And that may well be well and good. And that may be well and good. That is dialectic into dialogus with the devil, kenosis, self-emptying, by making oneself and the devil transparent to a process between you both, as in the relativity of God that he talked about. Anyway, and that may be well and good. Although the devil very much abhors religion for its particular solemnity and candor, it has become apparent, however, that it is precisely through religion that the devil can be brought to an understanding. What I said about dancing struck him because I spoke about something that belonged in his own domain. He fails to take seriously only what concerns others, because that is the peculiarity of all devils. What I said about dancing, although the devil very much abhors religion for its particular solemnity and candor, it has become apparent, however, that it is precisely through religion that the devil can be brought to an understanding. What I said about dancing struck him because I spoke about something that belonged in his own domain. He fails to take seriously only what concerns others, because that is the peculiarity of all devils. In such a manner, I arrive at his seriousness, and with this, we reach common ground, where understanding is possible. The devil is convinced that dancing is neither lust nor madness, but an expression of joy, which is something proper to neither one nor the other. In this, I agree with the devil. Therefore, he humanizes himself before my eyes, but I turn green like a tree in spring. Yet that joy is the devil, or that the devil is joy, has got to worry you. I pondered this over for I pondered this for over a week, and I fear that it has not been enough. You dispute the fact that your joy is your devil, but it seems as if there is always something devilish about joy. If your joy is no devil for you, then possibly it is for your neighbors, since joy is the most supreme flowering and greening of life. This knocks you down, and you must grope for a new path, since the light in that joyful fire has completely gone out for you. Or your joy tears your neighbor away and throws him off course, since life is like a great fire that torches everything in its vicinity. But fire is the element of the devil. As an aside, the important point here is that in Psychological Types, Chapter 5, the type problem in poetry, which is discussed in episodes 6 through 9 in my series on psychological types, there's an episode in the unconscious of Prometheus in which the old wandering Skyfather god turns into Pandora, his youngest daughter. So, image of the rebirth renewal of the god image, and the youngest daughter from Chinese religion, namely the I Ching, is one of the primary trigrams, namely Tui Tui, whose element is joy. So joy and the youngest daughter are connected in the symbol of the lake, and it's also connected in the sense the devil is a woman in the sense of yeah, it's a change in the form of the god image from that of an old man to that of a young girl, and um specifically she Pandora became pregnant with the new god, and here we can see that the yeah, for Jung at least, accepting one's feeling, accepting Salome, accepting pleasure, it is akin to accepting his joy rather than his sort of scholarly solemnity. And this is sort of equivalent to accepting his other half. And that other half can appear in the guise of either the feminine other half, as in the anima or soul, but it can also appear in the guise of the feminine other half, as in the devil. Um, at that level, the shadow as devil and anima as soul are in the same symbolic category, which we might designate the other. Or alternatively, one could say that both shadow, as in devil, and soul as in anima are connected in joy. One could say that joy contains elements of both, or that joy is amoral in a sense. In any case, so we were saying, when I saw that the devil is joy, surely I would have wanted to make a pact with him. But you can make no pact with joy, because it immediately disappears. Therefore, you cannot capture the devil either. Yes, it belongs to his essence that he cannot be captured. He is stupid if he lets himself be caught, and you gain nothing from having one more stupid devil. The devil always seeks to saw off the branch on which you sit. That is useful, and protects you from falling asleep and from the vices that go along with it. The devil is an evil element, but joy, if you run after it, you see that joy also has evil in it. Since then you arrive at pleasure, and from pleasure go straight to hell, your own particular hell, which turns out differently for everyone. Every attentive person knows their hell, but not all know their devil. There are not only joyful devils, but also sad ones. Through my coming to terms with the devil, he accepted some of my seriousness, and I accepted some of his joy. This gave me courage. Courage is a quality associated with the lion, which was spoken about earlier in the last 3 sections of Liber. This gave me courage. But if the devil has gotten more earnest, one must brace oneself. On a later adventure, I discovered how seriousness suits the devil. While seriousness certainly makes him more dangerous for you, it doesn't agree with him. Believe me. It is always a risky thing to accept joy, but it leads us to life and its disappointment, from which the wholeness of our life becomes. With this newly gained joy, I took off on adventures without knowing where the way would lead. I could have known, however, that the devil always tempts us first through women. While I might have had clever thoughts as a thinker, it was not so in life. There I was even fatuous and prejudiced, and so quite ready to be caught in a fox trap. That ends the first section in Liber Secundus, which was entitled The Red One. Oh, and it is, I didn't say, 24th of July, 2025.